And now I've got with me here Ingrid Seward, who is royal biographer and editor of Majesty magazine. Welcome, Ingrid. Thank you for joining us here today. And we're just talking now, of course, about the huge security operation that is in effect, and we can really see it in action here, can't we? The sniffer dogs, helicopters you can hear overhead, and a lot of security personnel really sort of doing the rounds here, making sure we're prepared.
When you think about it, we got 100 heads of state here, let alone the king and queen and most of the royal family. So it's bound to be enormous, and you know there's a lot of threats that go on that we know nothing about. And actually last night I saw a few of those protesters carrying their banners, but I feel that the crowd will probably shut them up, quite honestly. I don't think they are going to be allowed to spoil things for everybody.
Well, we can really get a sense as well, can't we, here from our incredible viewpoint of Westminster Abbey, just the scale, the significance, the symbolism of all of this today. And the first of the 2,300 congregation have started to take their seats. We've seen Chris Whitty, Lionel Richie, the great and the good, starting to take their seats ready for the ceremony. And what does the guest list really tell us about King Charles today, do you think?
I think that it tells us that King Charles really wanted his close friends there. They're very limited because it is a state occasion. So, of course, it's heads of state and it's the government and it's former prime ministers. But Charles and Camilla wanted their close friends there. And I think if you look at the list, they are all there. And a huge number of representatives from the Prince's Trust, people that have really helped raise money, which is why Ant and Dec are being invited, which are why there's so many actors and actresses that will be there. I know that Maggie Smith is going, Edward Fox, Joanna David. They all, in their own way, have helped King Charles when he was Prince, especially with the Prince's Trust.
We should say that there are no members of the public allowed here, bar those, of course, that are invited. And there are several hundred that are invited. This whole area is sealed off. The roads are closed, the pavements are closed, and there's 6,000 accredited media just in the Abbey alone. I mean, it just really gives you a sense, really, just that we're ready to watch history in the making.
I think it is so exciting because we don't quite know what to expect. I mean, obviously, this is the first time this has happened for 70 years, and I think you told me earlier that this is the biggest gathering of military since the funeral of Sir Winston Churchill.
And there's just one last question I'd like to ask you, because we've seen rehearsals taking place, military rehearsals, of course, many of them in the midnight hours, and of course this week at the Abbey here behind us with the royals involved, Prince Charles waving, smiling, seemingly relaxed, Prince William as well, of course, who we know has a very significant role, Prince George, even the youngest royal to have a ceremonial role in a coronation ever. But two members of the family that we haven't seen so far are Harry and Prince Andrew. And the ceremony has been altered, hasn't it? Prince William will be the only royal in a break from tradition that will pledge allegiance to the king. Do you think that is deliberate to obviously avoid any questions surrounding or controversy surrounding Harry and Andrew?
I think it was probably because King Charles wanted to make this more inclusive, not so much about the aristocracy and peers paying homage. I think he wanted to make this a very inclusive coronation. Therefore, the only royal duke, when William was Duke of Cornwall, that is paying homage.
We're just seeing, I think, Ant and Dec just arrived. You mentioned them beforehand. Yeah, as we said, the great and the good, obviously entertainers, celebrities rubbing shoulders with charity workers, fundraisers, and of course the royals. Now, they won't be arriving, former PMs and heads of state, until the next hour or so. But the guests are starting to take their seats, as we've seen, and this really is going to be a day to remember, isn't it? Jaw-dropping, the Dean of Westminster said. How would you describe it?
Well, I think he said it was going to be jaw-dropping. And I think that just wraps the whole thing up.
It really does, very nicely. Thank you so much, Ingrid. Well, as we said, a jaw-dropping event, a day to remember here at Westminster Abbey.
Super, thank you very much indeed.